What's happening, Hounds? Welcome to another exciting podcast from the Transylvania Hellhounds. My name is Vaughn. Friends call me Squatch. Keith, introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Keith. My friends call me Keith.
There we go. Alan D. McCowan on the bass. Say hi, Alan.
Alan D. McCowan on bass. Hi.
And the Hammer and Hobbit, Eric Barnes on drums. Say hi, Eric.
Howdy.
Howdy. And there may be cats here and there, so watch out.
Yeah, there may be. I see Annabelle skulking around right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, kitty?
I know Rigby is taking a nap, hard at work from mousing this morning.
He's actually snoring right now. He just started snoring.
Listen carefully, people. You might hear a cat snore. All right. Let's do some Hellhounds news. As you know, we're all in lockdown. We had a show late April for Turnbuckles and Brews, and of course that's been canceled. Why don't you give us an update, Alan, on Fuzzy Monkey?
Well, still pre-production of the movie. I think they still have some filming to do, and as far as we go, we got the demo version of Shriek Show, the title song. As soon as we get back in the studio, we'll finish that one off, and then we will have the title track to that movie. I think it's due out. It was due out late this year, right? But maybe we haven't talked to them recently since all the shutdown and everything. So I don't know if that date is still set or not.
So they used "If There Be Horns" recently in their latest movie release, Harvest of Horrors.
Yes,
and
I have seen it, and our song plays over the ending credits.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Is it available for Blu-ray and download and stuff like that or something? Or?
I believe it is available right now. They are releasing it directly at the moment, but it will be getting massive distribution later on. But right now, if you just go to Fuzzy Monkey Films, look it up, you could purchase it there.
Yep.
There's a cat.
Tell everybody your butt here in a minute.
Oh, yes. We're all getting the Eye of Sauron. As cats do.
Yeah.
All right. I think the main deal with this episode is our influences and what got us to do what we're doing, growing up the way we did and all that. But first, we're going to talk about newer albums that we are listening to and would recommend. And I think we should start this off with The Hobbit. Lay it on.
Why are you giving me the kickoff? Well, anybody that follows me on Facebook has probably seen more than 1 million times me saying, if you don't know the Rival Sons, God damn it, get hip to it. I've been plugging them for a long time. They're one of only a handful of bands in the last even maybe 10 years to really grab me by the boo-boo and just fall in love with. And I love all their albums, but their newest album came out, I think, January of last year. And I don't have a physical copy yet because, sadly, very few places anymore that fucking sell CDs. So, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on ordering it on Amazon, but I've listened to the hell out of it on Spotify over the last year, and it's definitely become my favorite Rival Sons album. It's called Feral Roots, and the core of the band has always been a very rock and roll, just straight rock and roll, but they've always also kind of experimented more and more with the later albums into other styles, adding touches of like R&B, soul kind of vibes, some acid rock kind of vibes to it, even occasionally sort of country or southern rock kind of influences. And the new album for me is kind of like they've taken all those influences and melded it perfectly on this album. Like even individual songs that run the gamut of several different styles, but without being herky jerky or seeming like they're jumping around or anything. It all flows extremely well. Then you got straight rock and roll tunes about chicks like Sugar on the Bone and Too Bad, which is kind of about realizing that somebody's been using you for all this time and tell them, you know what, fuck off. And it's kind of a roller coaster ride too. Like they get the upbeat tunes and they get you rocking, and then they kind of bring it down into more melancholy kind of, I don't want to say depressing or sad necessarily, but more emotional, more down kind of tunes, and then bring you back up. And the album ends with a song called Shooting Stars, which is about the most uplifting song that I've ever heard without being a cheese fest. Just beautiful lyrics saying, you know, the world is awesome and stay positive and, you know, be happy, whatever, but in a poetic and entertaining way. And I don't know, just from start to finish, the album is A++. All their other albums are A+. This one is A++. So the Hobbit gives it 5 howls out of 5. Amazing album. If you dig rock, you gotta fucking listen to the Rival Sons and get hip.
Hell yeah!
I think Alan should go next.
Oh,
I gotta preference this with my misunderstanding when we first started talking about doing reviews. And I was like, we talked about doing, I thought our latest, one of the recent CDs that we bought or music. So I was like, cool, that'd be a good chance to talk about Motown.
yeah.
Crazy Motown bass kick lately. And but then when we were talking about, you know, within the last 12 to 6 months, and you guys know me, my influences are, my music tastes are all over the place. So I wanted to fit this one in before it reached that 12-month deadline. And that's the latest Abbott.
Yes.
Outrider. And it's the second release done. I do have the first one. I liked it. I think I like this one more just because I like the drum sound a lot better. The bass is a little bit more present. And what I really like about the stuff that he's doing is I like black metal. And I never listened to a whole lot of Immortal. So it seems like with him doing his own thing, he expands a little bit more. He's got more diversity. You know, there's, like I said, the productions, I really like the production on this album. Keith knows this. There's only a handful of guitarists I listen to that when they get to the solo, I just kind of just not, you know, Keith's one of those guys that when he plays a solo, I'll listen to it. I like his solos, they're tastefully done. And on this one, there's big guitar solos. And it's almost like heavy metal, big guitar solos in a few places. And it's just really unique. And, you know, it is black metal still. It has those vocals. But Calm in the Eye of Hurricane, the title track, Outsider, Hecate. And I'm probably butchering some of the names, but it's just a solid album. There's nothing I skip through when I listen to this album. And you guys know me, I'm a sucker for packaging. So when I shoot to this, it's actually the box.
Nice.
You get the CD, the booklet. You get the patch.
Oh yeah.
And for those days that you want to add a little bit of something to your work attire, You've got the official Abbott makeup. The applicator sponge. For those of us who aren't on lockdown with their jobs, you could go into work looking like this. But no, back to the album. It's great. I mean, it was probably one of my favorite releases last year. And if I were to show you the handful of CDs I got, they're all over the place. I just showed you Stevie Wonder. But yeah, I highly recommend. I think it's a good one if you wanted to take a chance. If you weren't that big of a fan of maybe Immortal, I would still give this one a chance. It's very well done. I don't know, rank wise, perfect is hard for me. But I would have to say it's probably like a 4.5. The only thing I miss about this is Mia.
Yeah.
The bass player that's on this, because if you watch like the video for Hecate, she had and I'm visual too. I like the visual type of bands, and her up there playing bass. I think he's replaced on this album compared to the first one, he replaced the whole band. And then recently, I know she's not with him. I'm not quite sure about the guitar player, but they really, that lineup on that album had really cool stage presence. So, but that's the latest Abbott.
Very cool.
Great. What do you got?
Go. All right. It's funny you should mention Motown.
I know exactly where you're going.
Oh, yeah. This band released their album late 2018, so it still falls within the 12-month thingamabob, whatever you want to call it. But the band I'm talking about right now is Twin Temple. Their album's called Twin Temple, Bring You Their Signature Sound, Satanic Doo-Wop. Now let me explain that. It's a female-led band as far as vocals are concerned, and it is just that. It's kind of a cross between doo-wop, classic Americana, funeral jazz, 20s and 30s kind of flapper girl. It's all over the place, but it's all dedicated to Satan. They're trying to prove that you don't have to be this evil metal band to be satanic. And with songs like The Devil Didn't Make Me Do It, Sex Magic, Santa Muerte, you kind of get the gist. They're all about the Dark Lord, but they bring it to you in honestly the kind of music that you could move about your house and do your chores and wash dishes or work on your bike in the garage or whatever. It's really got this relaxing, cool atmosphere to it. The vocals are awesome. I love this kind of stuff, and it really takes you back. Being a modern album that sounds like something you would buy in an old Motown box set. Really cool stuff. Horn section, the whole 9 yards. They've got a killer sound. You should check them out. They've got a couple videos up on YouTube. Again, the band is Twin Temple. They were, I was going to go see them later this month at the Mercury Ballroom in Louisville, Kentucky, but obviously that's been canceled. So I'm really hoping that they reschedule. Once you check the videos out, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's really neat. Live, they perform actual rituals and all kinds of stuff, but then they kick into stuff that sounds like old Sam and Dave, and really cool stuff. Pretty neat. I highly recommend it. As far as Howls, man, it's hard to say. It's really kind of a taste thing. I dig it a lot. I would probably give this album a good 4. 4 Howls, brothers. Now we are on to the next adventure. I am through talking about it. I have nothing left to say. Keith, please take it away.
Well, when we were going to do these reviews, people that know me know that my favorite thrash metal band, longtime fan, is Testament. And I really wanted to find something else other than one of my favorite bands, something unique, something that really pulled my spectrum or whatever, so that I would have a little more of a diverse, I guess you could say diverse or whatever review. Instead, no, I just, I'm going to review the New Testament album. So, Titans of Creation, basically, first of all, Testament's one of those bands, when you buy an album, you're not going to listen to it and be disappointed because they didn't all of a sudden change. There's so many bands through the years where I'll buy an album and be like, what were they thinking? And and you get Testament. That is what you get. But it's also, a couple Testament albums are lacking like something unique. And even though they're all good albums, I don't, in my opinion, have a bad Testament album. But it starts off good. It's got some good thrash, lays down some good songs. But then it does, through the middle of the album, get a little unique. It's got a couple songs that have some really unique riffs. They're not un-Testament. It sounds like Testament, but definitely a fresh, sound or whatever. One of them, Symptoms. I know the Corona quarantine. They have one called Symptoms on the album. It starts out unique. If you guys listen to it or anyone else, you'll notice that song is the first one you get to. I think it's 7 or 8 on the album, where you go, oh, this is different. And then there's actually like a black thrash metal song towards the end of the album. I think that one is Curse of Osiris, I think. Killer, trem picking blast beats, but it fits. It's not like they're trying to go somewhere they're not comfortable. I mean, when you hear it, you're like, this is good. Now, D.G. Ajorio, I can never pronounce his last name correctly, but their bassist, Steve. Every time I hear him, it seems like his bass gets less and less tone. You know what I'm saying, Alan? I don't know why, but there is no bass tone. And this is the funny thing, though. The last few albums he's been on, and it was kind of hard to hear the bass. You can hear the bass. As a matter of fact, Steve starts a couple of the songs, which is also kind of fresh, It's just that the bass is more prevalent in the mix, but the sound of the attack and the missing tone is even more than what I've noticed in the past listening. It is kind of his sound, though. So maybe I'm just not the biggest fan of his sound, But otherwise, the rest of the album, the mix, masters, everything's amazing. I guess the only other odd thing is the last song, Catacombs. It's only like a 2-minute song, and Legions in Hiding off of Low. It was actually a riff that they used to start out their concerts with for like a long time, and then on Low they decided to put it into a song. I think the second track on that album or something. But they bring that riff kind of back. And while there's also, they added, and it's an instrumental mostly track, but they added some synthesized orchestra strings and synthesized choir awes, and they're borderline cheesy. I hate to say that. I just feel like they shouldn't have tried to do that, but I'm glad they had the gall to try it, So it's one of those things where is it really a necessary track to add on the album? At least they did go there, but I would have enjoyed the album the same with or without that last track on the album. Other than that, you expect shredding solos, beastly vocals, drums that just are destroying, awesome. All around, the guitar tone, the riffs, the solos are amazing, you know. So I would say, you know, it's a good, solid Testament album. And with the flaws, I mean, I guess it's a 3.5, Hal. You know, it's definitely better than a 3, but it's not quite a 4. I would give it 3.5 Howls.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's cool because you know, I didn't really know what any of us were going to talk about as far as these albums are concerned, and I've heard all of the albums we've discussed, and it sucks because I'm a huge fan of some of these bands, and I really dig all of these albums. I'd love to see every one of these played live by the original bands at some point in the future. I've never seen Testament live, and I'm kind of a late comer to Testament. I always knew of Testament. I always dug them, but I never really got into them until probably over the last 5 years. And man, I've been missing a lot, and I really want to see it. And I know Rival Sons was going to be around here pretty soon, weren't they?
Yeah, they're going to be at Bogart's in Cincy on May 20th, and that whole tour has been postponed.
Right. And I know Abbott just recently went into some form of a rehab or something, and we thought they were going to cancel the tour, and then like literally a week later, he's like, all right, I've dried out. Let's get back to work. You know, but I would love to see Abbott live as well. Hopefully we'll get the chance in the coming months when all of this dies down.
Did you guys hear about Testament on tour with Death Angel? What happened?
Most of the bands caught the virus, didn't they?
Yeah, Chuck Billy's recovering rather well now. He's not strongly immunocompromised, but he is to an extent because now he's full diabetic because of pancreatic cancer that he fought there several years ago and won. We all of us here and several fans watching this know that we recently lost, in the last year or so, a good friend with the local music scene, Jim White, who lost a fight with pancreatic cancer. So Chuck Billy being alive is amazing. And also him getting through Corona. But the drummer of Death Angel, he was in the hospital on a ventilator, and it was rough. It was really bad.
He was even in a coma at one point.
Oh, really?
He came out of the coma like within the last week, and I guess he's doing a lot better. And Exodus was on that tour too, and I saw a report that Gary Holt down with COVID as well. But it looks like he's recovering well too. So,
man,
it's good to hear that we didn't lose any of those guys through this. You know. Oh, yeah. I will say earlier, Alan was mentioning, you know, with the box that he got, how the physical copies and all that. You know, I actually bought a digital download of the Testament album, and it's my first Testament album I've ever bought digital download. It's only like the second or third digital download I've ever bought. Mostly always go physical copy, but with things going on, and it just released, you know, in the last week. But so I wanted to bring this up for the fans. We are aware that our physical copies are no longer for sale online right now. That actually our agreement through CD Baby to do e-publishing, they decided, and not just us, all artists that they manage, they have dropped physical sales. So we've talked amongst ourselves. We are going to figure something out in some way to be able to get physical copies to people, you know. But you know, stream it and download it as much as you can. You know, it just is one of those things where I guess society is changing. You know, it's sad, but I think vinyl is going to outlive CDs.
Yeah, just for nostalgia. Absolutely. It's crazy. Physical copies are going out the window. And for people of our generation, obviously, you know, the packaging was the bomb. You know, you get the album, you get a box set, you get whatever, you know, and going through the booklets and the pictures and having that in your hand, you know, reading through the lyrics and all of that. And nowadays, you know, you download something, you don't even know the name of it. You're like, oh, I like track 3 and track 7. Those are my favorites. You know, it's kind of gotten to that point. It's kind of sad. I miss having that collectability, that, it's like having a real book in your hand rather than looking at something off of a computer screen,
Yeah.
Indeed.
Cool. All right. Well, moving on then. I guess we will now get into the meat of the subject.
But first, a word from the sponsors.
First. Oh, yeah. Cool. All right. So then we're coming back. Hey, hope you bought something from our sponsors. Okay. All right. We're going to get into the meat of it now. We're talking about our influences. What makes us tick? Are you ready for this? Because I don't think I'm ready for this.
I'm not ready for this.
You're not ready for this?
I don't know about
How about you? Are you ready for this?
The people watching, they're definitely not ready.
No one's ready for this. I'll go ahead and start it off, and then I'll throw it to somebody else. How's that? Alan wants to start it off. I'm kidding. Oh man, influences. I'll make this kind of short and sweet. I come from a musical background as far as family is concerned. My grandfather had a big band, and I don't mean a lot of people. I mean it's a form of music, big band music. He would practice in his living.
Awesome. All right, Alan. So.
Yes. But he'd practice in the living, in his house all the time, and we'd always visit. My uncle was a drummer in a kind of like a blues rock band. They toured with Deep Purple, bands like that. My father played a mandolin, and when we go visit his family, they'd always have big church-like jams on the porch. They'd play gospel and country and bluegrass. My mom was into folk music. She loved, that kind of a situation. And so I started off as a drummer. And then there was a local band that needed a singer. I was in that band. We started looking for singers, and I'd have to show the singer what we were doing and, how to sing it. And a friend that was close to the band was like, well, why don't you just sing since you're showing these people what to do? And bam, I was in it. What got me started actually playing rock music was I was upstairs in my room one day, and my mom and dad yelled down at me and said, come down here and check out this band. It's a brand new band. It's the first time we've seen their video. And that band was... Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. The video was Looks That Kill. At that very moment, my hair started to grow long. My attitude started to change. I immediately became a super fan obsessed. I bought the mesh gloves that said Crew on them and all that. I was all down into that. And with that came an obsession for bands like that. My very first albums that were given to me by one of my uncles was Kiss Destroyer. So that, of course, supercharged everything. I had Alice Cooper Killers. And I don't know if you can start to see a pattern here with theatrical bands. But that was always my thing, man. Really got into that. Alice Cooper, Merciful Fate. Then King Diamond came out just kicking my ass, and I loved it. Abigail, I burnt that album down. The needle went through to the other side. I listened to that album so many times. So those are pretty much my influences. I kind of grew up in the 80s, so it was neat because there was a lot of metal going on, Sabbath, Priest, Maiden. But then I also got into bands like Rat and Dokken, Twisted Sister at the time. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I was an 80s kid. I mixed it up. I loved metal, but I loved glam. I loved it all. It was cool. I've always been diverse when it comes to music. I listen to everything. If it's good, I'll check it out. Country Western, listen to that. I loved Prince. It's all over the place. I listen to Motown. You can't hold me down when it comes to music. I can't even think of a music that I won't listen to. Just dig it all. But my heart belongs to that theatrical rock, man. Something that just drives it home. And it always go back to Looks to Kill from Motley Crue. That's where it started for me. All right, Keith, lay it on us, brother. What you got?
You know, how I'm writing and playing the music I am nowadays, I guess is just something that was in me, you know, like how I feel about things and everything. I guess I was just kind of born with it because like you, I've been influenced by so much different stuff. Why I chose rock and roll and split that into a horror rock band and metal bands is just because out of all the things, that's, you know, I guess that's what I want to do. And it started when I was young, you know, my parents listened to anything from Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys, you know, the West Coast surf sound to the Beatles. And my dad also listened to some of the early, you know, heavy rock and or metal bands. I mean, nowadays it's hard to class it. Back then, Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, they were metal, you know. Nowadays, people look at them as classic rock. But then my mom listened to The Doors and Led Zeppelin, and I just pretty much grew up listening to and always was listening to the radio and stuff. And then, and if it was on MTV, I would see music videos and whatnot. Then one day, a friend of mine, we were actually I was in Pee Wee football or something, or junior high football, and we were on a bus, and he had a Walkman, and he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Metallica?" And I'm like,
What?
I think this was 89 or 90. And so he had Master of Puppets. So I was listening to that, and instantly I was like, "Mom, you got to take me to the mall. I got to go to a record store. I want to buy some, you know, stuff." And it was not even a couple weeks later, and Justice for All came out. And then, of course, I started listening to Megadeth. I started listening to Metal Church and Exodus and Testament, and just was like, you know, Led Zeppelin, Cream, Pink Floyd, Doors. I've been there, done that. I'm over that now. So the 90s, you know, was mostly metal, and then the heavier grunge.
Hey, brother, I'm really sorry to interrupt real quick. I'm about to pop. I got to go to the bathroom before I piss myself right here.
Oh, looks like another commercial break.
Go ahead.
And we're back. So through the 90s, my teenage years, early adult years, mostly metal and heavy grunge, you know. And then the bands I started playing with in my early 20s and all that kind of stuff, you know, Eric and I, we were in a death metal band, 04, 05, 06, those years.
Something like that. I've lost track. I'm old. I forget.
And we, you know, death metal and all that. And then, and I don't know where it came from. All of a sudden, probably about 10 years ago, I just, I was like, man, I think I can't remember what band it was, but I think I just started listening to, you know, classic rock radio station again or something like that. I don't know why. And next thing you know, I'm remembering, you know, Neil Young and Ted Nugent, freaking Cream, The Doors. I just started listening to that stuff again. I went out and I started buying all the old stuff of the Cars' first album and, you know, Dark Side of the Moon and stuff that I had in my adult life. I had never purchased those albums. I listened to them when I was a kid. My mom had the stuff on LP, but now, and then next thing you know, so, you know, Eric and I, we were in the newer metal project Horlet with Alan and stuff. And I was like, you know, I got these rock and roll songs, man. I've been really writing this rock and roll. And Eric was like, you know, oh, well, my cousin and I are kind of jamming around. He wants to do like a rock band. And the next thing you know, as that all evolved, here we are, the Transylvania Hellhounds.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just so I guess my flavors changed a little bit, although my recent review is the New Testament album. So
Very cool. Cool.
anyway, Eric, please grace us with your presence.
Little old me. Actually, Greg made me think of something in talking about the musicians and family too being an influence. I love telling this because the band name is just classic. My dad used to play bass in a band, around the time that he met my mom, and me or my brother Sean have a 45 of like 2 songs that they recorded. One of us has it somewhere. And but the band was called the Fabulous Penetrations. And
hell yes.
Instrumental, like surf rock kind of stuff. If I recall correctly, it's been so long since I actually heard it. But so he played bass, and then of course my brother played guitar. And the thing that got me really into listening and wanting to play music was kind of twofold. The biggest one was probably the fact that Sean and my cousin Chance, who was instrumental in the formation of this band, they were huge Kiss fans, and so I was hearing Kiss all the time and loving it, loving the image and all that stuff. But at the same time, my dad was big into rock and roll and stuff, so there was always, if it wasn't Kiss, there was Led Zeppelin, The Doors, Cream, CCR, Doobie Brothers, whatever, always playing old rock and roll stuff. And so that got me into music. And then, Sean and Chance were also right on top of the whole glam thing with Motley Crue, Poison, all that stuff. And I was following along with them. And even the first concert I ever went to that was really the kicker that made me go, I want to fucking do that, was seeing Kiss at Hare Arena on the Lick It Up tour. And I was only like 8 years old. Dad took myself, my brother, Sean Chance, and I think Sean's buddy Bruce, all to see that show. And it just blew my mind. And I haven't looked back since as far as that goal of wanting to be on stage playing music.
The next day at school, you're 8 years old. Were you the next day at school walking in going, lick it up?
Yeah.
Lick it up. Your teachers.
I remember a school project of like, draw what you want to be when you grow up. And I drew Kiss on stage playing music. It was drawing the pyro and all that shit. But then, so, I was all into the glam and all that stuff. And then Sean and Chance had gone off to school at GIT out in California. And they came back to visit at one point, and they brought back And Justice for All. That had just come out, and they were like, man, you gotta fucking hear this. And it didn't grab me right away, but the more I heard it, the more I started to like it. And that, along with hearing Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son right around the same time, kind of opened the floodgates for the heavier stuff. Like, I was already into like Ozzy and stuff, but that opened the doors to thrash, and then of course eventually death metal. It didn't take me long to start getting into Slayer, Coroner, Creator, Death, Napalm Death, Carcass, all that stuff. It was for a good 5 years. If it wasn't fucking heavy, fast, and deathy, I didn't want to hear it. Venom, all that shit. One of my all-time favorite bands, of course, Death, and Slayer. Come on now.
Come on now.
So I was already going on the thrash and death metal before I even really started playing an instrument. So I started playing drums, like some of the earliest shit that I was learning, obviously like Motley Crue, Kiss, stuff like that. But also, as soon as the second year having a drum set, I got a second kick drum. So I started learning like Motorhead's Overkill or Wasp, Love Machine, songs that were heavy with the double bass. And not long after that, started my first death metal band, The End, which I found a VHS that has at least one show from way back when. I haven't put it in yet to see what's on there, if it's the quality of it or anything. But so right out of the gate with bands, I was playing death metal. It did have after the end split, me and Jason Rose, the singer, he switched to guitar and we started a band called Hallucination Engine, which was a little more kind of trippy, rocky, industrial kind of weirdness. And then after that, it was back into the death metal with Leveled, Trioxin, Dead Broke, black metal band Darkness Undying, Horse Horlet, and then kind of came back full circle, I guess, with the Hellhounds and getting back into the rock side of things and slowing it down a little bit in my old age and rocking out instead of thrashing out. Yeah. So I'm kind of all over the place too, and I listen to just about anything. If it's good, I'll listen to it. Classical, bluegrass, whatever.
Yeah.
It all sinks into the brain. It all influences in some way or another. The more direct influences are obviously like, Iron Maiden, Kiss, Death, that kind of stuff. But it all plays a part, meshes in the brain, and makes me poop out whatever I do on the drums as I'm throwing my arm around like a wild man.
It's crazy too, because when we were younger, man, it was all about the clicks. If you listened to Poison, you were not allowed in the metal club. And if you listened to metal, then you were just some hoodlum and all that. It was ridiculous. I'm glad we finally grew out of that phase, because I think we were all closet listeners of the Enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I listened to Poison, Motley Crue, Rat, and all that, but I also Venom was one of my favorite bands, and the theatricality of death metal and all of that, the black metal scene, and it was so cool. But I couldn't admit that to my friends and fellow musicians that were learning the new Van Halen song, because they didn't want to hear it. So it's cool. It's cool to hear that you had that kind of a background. Hell yeah.
It's funny when you mention that, Greg.
Side note. Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, a funny side note, because as I was getting into like junior high and stuff, and I was already listening to all this death metal stuff, I was wearing Deicide shirts with the Trifiction on the back and all this stuff. Little old me, little old hobbit. There was a huge number of people at school that were terrified of me because I listened to this extreme metal. I had these T-shirts with like Death's leprosy that had Rotting While They Breathe, Death Comes Slow on the back and all this stuff. And there were people that were like, oh my God, don't go near him. He'll curse you. He'll put a curse on you. You listen to that Satan stuff.
Yeah, you were a Satanist. Satanist.
But yeah. Anyway,
To touch on what Greg was saying about like you had your cliques with like the hair metal bands and the thrash bands and stuff like that. I just remember, because there wasn't many of us in my high school, but I remember you would get the group of us together, and it's like, well, what do you think of at the time when I was in the thrash, what do you think of Motley Crue? And that was Theater of Pain. Oh no, hair metal. But no matter what you could say, once you got to Prince, it's like, well,
Oh yeah. Yep. It's cool that we've gotten to that age where we're past all that crap. We can listen to the Misfits and then turn around and listen to go to a bluegrass festival. Whatever. It's all good stuff. All good stuff.
But I will not listen to mumble rap. Damn it! I draw the line at mumble rap.
Albert draws the line at mumble rap.
Fuck it. Anyway, I think it's Alan's turn now.
I do believe it is.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut mine to where just basically that's how I'm a teenager, because I could ramble. So it's really cool that you guys got like family musical backgrounds. And even though I had that, I was never allowed to listen to rock.
Wow.
Okay. So up until I was maybe even 12, 13 years old, I had a choice of country or like anything but rock, basically. So I found myself, because when I was a kid, I couldn't stand country. It's a little bit different story now, but as a kid, I couldn't stand it. So I would buy soundtracks to my favorite movies. I remember the first soundtrack I bought was Empire Strikes Back. And I think that's why it carries over to my love of like scores now, just from that all the way up until now. But so I remember getting this album and thinking I was hot shit because I had a record album, and I would take it over to our neighbors, and they were same age as my older sisters, and I always thought they were like rock dudes, and I was all proud to show them my album. And it's funny because they were rock dudes, and they put the album out, and they completely humored me because it was just like they were marching around like the AT-ATs and just having a good time with it, and I think even back then it's just like it doesn't hurt to listen to everything.
Sure.
But, growing up. So eventually they kind of gave me a little bit of leeway because even though I wasn't allowed to listen to rock and roll, heavy metal, definitely not heavy metal, my mom worked with a girl that liked Van Halen. So since her friend likes Van Halen, they must not be so bad. So I remember, so she was like, well, you can listen to Van Halen. So every week with my allowance, starting with 1984, I would go out and buy the cassettes working backwards and had all the Van Halens, just wore those out. I don't even think this would even still play, let alone being a cassette, but this is the original cassette I bought back at like Gold Circle. And
I remember Gold Circle.
Yeah. So it led to that. And then I remember, just to touch on one of my little stories, I used to have my friends were in the rock and heavy metal, Kiss, so what I would do is I had one of those little cassette players with a single speaker and a cassette deck. And we would go over and you would do the thing where you put them together and you hit record on one to double tape while the other one played. You sit there for 45 minutes all quiet, while it recorded. And I had a friend of mine, my best friend growing up, he would make me these compilation tapes of rock and metal. And so that's how I would listen to it. Sneak in, in my room, headphones, and I remember being out and coming home. It was a little bit later. It was probably in the fall because it was dark. I wasn't allowed out late. But walking into this dark house, and since I opened up the door, we had the coffee table. My mom sitting there on the sofa with like this really stern, mean look on her face, my cassette deck sitting there. Oh, and she's like, "You need to have a seat." So she sat down and she starts playing these songs, and it's just like Quiet Riot. And I'm trying to give her like these explanations why these aren't so bad songs, Van Halen comes up, Panama. I was like, Mom, now he's reaching down between his legs, but he's just easing the seat back, stuff like that.
He's just easing the seat back.
And it gets to, and the next thing I hear is a thump of Twisted Sisters Burning Hell. And I'm like, I've got nothing. So I think it was at that point that, they really loosened the reins a little bit. And I got what got me into playing music was, the three friends I had in school, they were all playing music. We would put on these lip syncing Kiss concerts in the backyards with these guitars that we would cut out of plywood. We would I had my best friend, he would put smoke bombs in there and light them as he's doing these really guitar solo. And it would catch the guitar on fire. The plywood guitar would catch on fire. He's down there trying to blow it out. That's what got me wanting to play music. And so I like everybody, try guitar and completely sucks at that because this hand doesn't want to hold a pick. I couldn't tape a pick to these fingers in this days. So Eddie Van Halen wanted me to become a rock star.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about Motley Crue. When I saw Looks to Kill, that was a game changer.
Yep.
I remember staying up until like 3 o'clock in the morning, ready to press record on the VCR to get that video. because it was something I hadn't, you had Kiss, but Kiss seemed like it was its own thing. All of a sudden you had that metal coming out with that theatrics to it, expanding on that. Nikki Sixx playing out there with the image and the, banging away on bass. And what really got me into wanting to play bass, besides the only metal band at school needing a bass player, was this guy. I'm all about visuals. That's the man right there. When I heard Cliff Burton, Anastasia, I think Master of Puppets probably hadn't been out yet. I remember Ride the Lightning being out. The Master of Puppets came out. And just him. I mean, he's an incredible musician.
Yeah.
Just, he was just all about it. And that's what hooked me. And from those ages of like maybe 15 to 18, 19, it was metal, Possessed, Megadeth, Metallica, Metal Church. Anything else, you're stupid if you don't listen to it. If you're listening to anything else, you're stupid. Okay. And so I started playing out, and another huge influence that had on me. We were trying to play out. I hadn't taken one lesson. I was doing some kind of gibberish with my fingers, which I thought was cool. And I would get these looks of like, you really don't know what you're doing. And so I started taking lessons, and there was a guy named Steve Smith in Springfield. Now I remember seeing him with Paragon, but I think he was really his biggest tenure, in the area with Madewell. And I remember walking into my first lesson because we would roadie for his band at the time. And which was basically showing up at their local gigs and help them with chords and all the heavy lifting. But so I went and he was awesome. He was awesome back then. And I sat down. He's like, well, first off, what do you listen to? I was like, what you should listen to: Metallica, Possessed, Megadeth. He's like, I was like, well, what are you saying? He's like, well, first off, you gotta open your mind. You gotta expand. I was like, well, tell me who. And he said the two things that he turned me on to was Faith No More and my name, Jaco. I'm all about visuals, remember? Jaco Pastorius. He was like, listen to Jaco. And it might seem cliche at the time, like now, but at the time for me, I was like, what's this fusion jazz thing? I didn't listen to jazz, and or the rock jazz, I listened to that. And when the stuff he did with Weather Report, this album with Weather Report 830, I remember hearing a Scorpion Worldwide Live when I was a kid from my buddy that was allowed to play it, and thinking live albums suck. So I strayed away from live albums for a long time, but this one is it sounds so clear. And Jaco, A Remark You Made is a song from Weather Report. If you're not a Jaco fan, you will be after you hear that. It's just beautiful bass line. But after that, he taking lessons from Steve Smith, where he's like, don't limit yourself to what you listen to. And at that point, it was like, I brought all that soundtrack stuff back from being a kid. Grunge hit, I found myself listening to the country. At the time, I could not take Nirvana. It wasn't happening for me. And I found myself listening to, the 70s and 80s country that I despised when I was a kid. But then it came around. I heard Soundgarden. I'll fess up. I started liking Nirvana and Pearl Jam. But I just had. I think not being able to listen to a particular type of genre to make me look for other things when I was a kid helped me accept the broad range of stuff I listen to now. So that I don't know how much that carries over into my bass playing and the bands I play in, but that's what influenced me.
Very cool, man.
To listen to what I listen to now. So.
Oh yeah, I think actually this kind of brings it full circle into the best advice you could give a newer musician or anyone that's wanting to get into any kind of music whatsoever is to definitely don't block yourself off, because you can get influences on how to play or what to hear from any kind of music. I mean, we went and saw Goblin, which was, a band that made soundtracks for some of our favorite horror movies back in the day. And they're just, some of them are just soundscapes. Some of them are just the same melody over and over and over again, whatever. But those memories stick in your head, and then you transverse that into a melody. Same with country music or bluegrass. You could take something from anything and put it into what you're doing now. And you could create something brand new no one's even ever heard of, which sounds weird nowadays because it seems like everything's been done. It's like it's hard to find new music, and it's getting harder to find music that's different. But I think it's still out there, and I think someone's going to come up with something that's going to change the direction again at some point. We saw how music's changed over the years, and what's influenced us. Can only imagine what's coming next. Who knows? All right, gents. Well, I think it's time for what are we into now? What are you into right this second? What have you been doing this week? What have you been looking at, thinking, listening to, whatever? Let's start this one off with Peace.
Okay. Well, what I've been into lately is my home.
Nice.
And we're done.
And we're done.
That goes all the way around.
All right, Keith. That's not how this segment works. Talk to me. Nice.
Actually, I decided if this is going to be pretty much what's going on for several weeks and everything, might as well be comfortable, right? So I have been hardcore playing a PlayStation 4. Hardcore. 6 to 8 hours a day. It's probably not the smartest thing in the world. I think I'm getting ulcers on the corneas of my eyes. I guess I've been going through and with games, I'm weird. So the newest game that I've played that I will give a 5 Howl rating is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's all I can say, man. It's probably one of my favorite PlayStation games ever. And then I went back to a 5-year-old game. Eric, how old is Darksiders 2? Is that 2015?
Well, it was originally a PS3 game, so it's been out for a good while.
So I decided to rehash that one, go back through it and platinum it. Why not? And so I mean, I've been playing different games and stuff. Pretty much though, I can't do sports games like football, baseball. I mean, I'm a Reds fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm not into. I like action games, driving games, that kind of stuff, and it gives you something to do. I just can't sit and watching movies is a little rough because after a while I get a little stir crazy, having my hands doing something. And of course, I've been playing a lot of guitar. You guys can't see right now. You see one guitar, but I've got like 8 guitars sitting around me and amps right behind the couch here is, like a Mesa Boogie and a PV and, so I'm playing a lot of guitar, which will probably lead to more Hellhounds songs.
Yes.
Unacceptable.
How dare you write new music? How dare you? Sweet, man. All right, Alan, what you been up to, brother? What's going on?
Well, with the weird work schedule, because I'm essential. I haven't had a chance to check out too much stuff. I did. The only thing that I can say that I've got is I think with all of us, we get a little nostalgic. And I'm going the opposite way of Keith here. And without playing the latest game, I did order Well, Keith got me to do this because he had to show off his 2600. But I wanted to order something because I have a few 2600 games, and but I'm always reluctant to buy something as old as I am.
Mhm.
So they have these Retrons.
Oh, nice.
Play the old cartridges.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I put it in long enough, and then what got me to want to get it was I've got Journey Escape, the game, 2600.
Wow.
I remember being a kid and my sister had that game, and I would put it in, and I was the lights and the 8-bit greatness that is Atari soundtrack. I've had that cartridge for a while, and I was like, I gotta at least see that intro to that game again. And I put it in, and sure enough, the music hits. It's like, yes, this is what I remember. And you play that game for like 5 minutes, you remember how terrible that game kind of is.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give a better recommendation or not. So far, the system looks cool. You know, it's not having any trouble with the super duper old game. I'm looking forward to like Berserker or Combat. You know,
Yeah.
just long enough to burn the retinas, turn off all the lights, and be blinded for a couple of days. But yeah, that's what I've done most recently.
Very cool.
There.
Hobbit's up.
Me? All right. I decided to stick with a recommendation that sticks with the music theme, but it is still also a video game.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole Rock Band series, I mean, I would recommend all of them, but this one being this generation's game, that I've been playing a lot more of it since, I haven't been working for the last week, even though we are technically essential. We took the last week off. So I've been playing a lot of Rock Band again and just kind of remembering. Yeah, I've always been consistent about playing it, but playing it more lately just kind of reminded me, like, this is one of the best games that I've ever played. This is definitely in my top 5 greatest games of all time thing. It's an awesome party game. It's just fun stuff, and even songs that you don't necessarily like, the way that they kind of remix to pull certain things out, like "Hungry Like the Wolf," and the chorus, the guitar, you can actually hear it in their mix of it. It give you a deeper appreciation for a lot of stuff. Even if you don't necessarily like the song, you'll hear more than what you ever did before, because you're kind of forced to pay more attention to what's going on in the song. So, but with drums, guitar, bass, and up to 3 vocalists, it's a hell of a party game. Everybody can have fun playing it. You want to sing your lungs out, whether you suck at it or not. Have at it. And I got to praise the animation in these games too, because Harmonix created Guitar Hero, the people that made Rock Band. They did Guitar Hero 1 and 2, and then like an expansion to Guitar Hero 2, and then they broke off and they started doing Rock Band. And something the Guitar Hero is always guilty of is that the characters in the game never look like they're actually playing the song that you're playing. And it's impossible to be perfect with a game like this, especially with the guitar and the bass. But your characters, they look like a reasonable facsimile of playing the tune that you're playing. When it goes into solo, they're down low on the neck, and their fingers are going, stuff, strumming. They're rocking out, running around. The singer always looks great. They look like they're singing the song. But the most impressive one is the drums, because every single hit is animated, and animated correctly. When you're playing, when you got a Rush song going, obviously Neil Peart played with a 20 bajillion piece drum set. But so you can't animate to that degree. Your drummer's always playing on a 5-piece kit, but every hit is still animated and made to look really good. To which I should add that if you're playing the drums and you got the cymbal pack and you play the pro mode, every single hit, every single cymbal hit versus drum hit. It's all what's the word I want? It's all mapped for you. So if you're a learning drummer, I wish this game was out when I first started playing drums. I mean, I took lessons from a jazz drummer at Howl, but this game would have been a way more fun way to learn songs. And I do use it now to use songs when we're working on covers. But it maps out every single hit. And again, even though you don't have a 20 bajillion piece kit to play a Rush song, it's still teaching you how to play these songs. Every hit is there. You're just taught how to play it on a 5-piece drum set. And it's fucking awesome, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
And I recommend any Rock Band game, but Rock Band 4 is the current generation. And so get it, play it, love it. Plus shitloads of DLC, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. I've got over 600 songs on my system, and I play the shit out of all of it. Anyway,
Are they still producing downloadable content?
What? Who?
Are they still producing DLC?
Yeah. There's every week they still put out new DLC. Usually like 3 songs a week. Sometimes if it's a bigger tune, they'll only do one. Like when they released Inagata Davida, I mean that's a 20-minute tune. They released only that song that week, but they got metal. I got tons of Judas Priest and Iron Maiden songs on there. You got Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner even on there. Great stuff. There's some death metal. There's some Cannibal Corpse, Children of Bottom, fucking just all kinds of shit, all kinds of genres.
Very cool.
Good stuff.
Hell yeah.
I'm done babbling. Now it's the Vaughn's turn to babble.
Words in your face. All right. As some of you know, or don't know, whatever, I fancy myself a bit of a writer, and I have written a book.
Well, this is all the time that we've got for this week. Tune in next
Black Static Transmission. It's available on Amazon, and I'm reducing the price to 99 cents for my dropping like my immune system sale. But no, I've actually spent this past week working on my next story, Resurrectionist in Red. So I'm hoping to finish that up here pretty soon. I write short stories, man. Growing up, watching horror and stuff like that, working in haunted houses all my life. It's in my blood. And right now, I have no way of getting that out of my system because I can't jam with my brothers right now. And, the opportunity to write new music and all that, it's been rough. So I have to find other outlets. And this new story that I've been working on is another one that I've been working on for years and just never jumped back into and finished. So I've decided to try and finish that. So hopefully I'll have another one here pretty soon. That and just watching a bucket load of horror movies. It sucks getting online and you get on, Netflix or Amazon and you're like, it's the same crap. I've seen all this. It's the same crap. You're hoping to find something new. So I had to look elsewhere. And so now I was like, all right, well, why don't I just make up my own? So that's where I'm at. I want to thank everybody for getting through this with us, watching this with us. We're still playing Friday the 13th on the PS4. Get on there on Monday nights and Friday nights and jump on with the Hounds. Help us kill Jason's, but we don't need the help because we're the Jason Killers. Isn't that right? Don't you try it. All right. Cool. That about wraps it up for the Hounds. Anybody else got anything they got to say?
I keep a pocket knife handy at all times.
Yes. Cool.
All of you need to get on Full Moon Features and watch Corona Zombies. Good stuff.
That's stuff. Right. That's a trauma film, isn't it?
Full Moon.
Yeah, it's produced by Full Moon, and it is about 90% of it is Hell of the Living Dead, but with the dialogue redubbed to be about this Corona team that's been sent to find out what happened to this hijacked shipment of toilet paper. And then there's about 10% of the movie is scenes from Zombies versus Strippers that are used like news clips, like, oh, these dumbasses keep going to the strip club and this is what happens. And then a little bit of new footage of this blonde chick going, oh, I was at the store and I couldn't get any toilet paper, blah, blah, blah. But most of it's the Hell of the Living Dead stuff, and it's pretty hysterical. Took a terrible Italian zombie movie and made it entertaining. So, yeah, Corona Zombies.
Cool. Well, hopefully we're going to be continuing this. So hopefully we'll see you here really, really soon. Until then, keep on rocking. Thanks for watching. Transylvania Hellhounds. Till next time. Horns, hammers, horns and hammers. Kick ass.